Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, this certainly is a great Gnosis talk, I'll say that. You know, for years I've been talking about this illusion, and even recently, the fake reality we live in, which can be broken pretty easily. You know, we're not living in a computer matrix, all that kind of stuff. Your matrix is assembled by yourself and enforced by an evil, rotten society. Everything we know is an urban legend, at the very least, and at the most, or is a complete and total lie. We've been lied to by everybody on everything, no matter what it is. It's really sad, and I don't know why we should possibly give anybody credit for anything. The smucky scientists who apparently are pretty good at making weapons to empower evil politicians who basically represent the public, who are a bunch of evil scumbuckets. Our government is probably better than the average person, shockingly as that is. So we have these kind of problems there, but it just is shocking how every single phase of our life is complete and total fantasy. As of recent, I've been doing a lot of research into diet. Now, one of the most important things in your life, and I don't know how many people have it, is basically being well so that you can further whatever goal that is. Whether you want to do something ignoramus-like, the lowest level of stupidity, like skiing or parachute jumping, or so many other things that are a waste of time. Golf. People are so bored they have to chase a little white ball around a fairway, or basically a giant lawn. What's wrong with people? Is that how you spend your time? You know, I lived in a retirement community, and people, well, you need something to do when you retire. Something to do. So that's what they do all day. Because, you know, they're used to getting up and doing the 9 to 5, and when they can't do that, they have no purpose in life. Meaning your purpose was working for some crappy company making whatever it is they did, and so forth. But I diverse to it. The bottom line is that everything that you believe in, everything you know, is a complete and total lie. And this is further illustrated by one of the most important things that we all deal with in life. And that is food. We all have been brainwashed into all sorts of food things that you think are natural, or daddy did it and granddaddy did it and you think you should do it. This is the kind of stupid thinking that will keep you enslaved and working for an evil, corrupt system. So you have to do everything that society doesn't. I mean, you know, I've talked about reverse thinking in the past, and you pretty much have to reverse think everything in life. Fats are bad for you. Fats are good for you. Salt is going to kill you. Salt is going to heal you. You have to think like that. And those two statements that I just said were the real thing there are true, which we've been told not. So we've been lied to about everything on this planet. People refuse to deal with real life. They want to believe in some comic book gods, and all these things are just as ridiculous. And it's enforced to the level that you become an outcast, and that is a good place to be. You have to make sure that you don't conform to society and do what they want. But this is a path for a tough Gnostic warrior. It's certainly not the path for the average person who goes along with everything. You know, you can always tell, you know, in ancient times when the Jews were enslaved, I don't know whom was enslaving them at the time. It happened frequently. I don't think it was the Romans. Maybe it was someone else at that time. They changed the way they looked to differentiate themselves from their captors. This is where you get that strange look you see in some Jews with the big curls on the side and wearing silly hats. They were rejecting the society that they're in. Now, I think that's a little silly, but, I mean, looking, but it's a matter of saying, well, I'm not part of you. And this is how I express it. And you should be doing the same thing in your life, because how you think is the most critical aspect of how you're going to reach the abilities that everybody wants to. You want to have abilities, you want to be able to manifest at a high level. Well, you have to think differently in every phase. And don't think you can move into the alternative fields. Well, I'm alternative, Ducky. I don't follow that. I'm into other things. I'm into manifesting machines, radionic. Well, the radionic people are all stuck in the old paragram, and they're all corrupt, rotten scumbuckets. So, are you aware of that? Do you notice that when you go there? Well, the bottom line is that, of course, these people will then victimize everybody that goes against them. And this is done in every single phase. The people who are victimized and run away from society themselves become people who victimize other people that don't believe the way they do. And this is the problem with this reality, and it will never change. You know, the Chinese, of course, were millions, tens of millions, maybe probably hundreds of millions of Chinese were murdered by so many invaders, from the Mongols to the British to everyone else that went in there and destroyed their culture. Does that make them sensitive to somebody else's culture? Well, no, they need the resources in Tibet, and of course they killed millions of Tibetans to just take it. We need it, we don't care. So they certainly weren't sensitive about it. And neither is anybody who is persecuted. Do they turn the other way and go out there? You know, I see that particularly with the Jewish community, who is so persecuted, but I don't see them going out and helping too many other people. Matter of fact, they are just as corrupt as everybody else. So it's a problem. They trained all the cartels down in Mexico, so-called ex-Israeli military. I'm not sure how X they were. They certainly were double, triple X in their bank accounts. So there's a morality factor there that they don't learn either. And even if they are X or renegades, they don't have a particular moral structure that they would think about. Well, you're training criminals. These are the kind of people that massacred you for literally centuries. So this is what we run into yet again. And the whole idea is you have to understand that if you're going to think like society, you're going to reject all the important things. And, you know, the old manifesting machines, quote, radionics, which I'm kind of changing using that term in the future, is a spiritual path because it teaches you to think completely different. How can tuning into these higher non-electric energies do anything? Now, if you were to talk to an MIT graduate, Moron Institute of Technology, they would tell you how silly all this is. It's silly, Mom. It's just silly. It makes no sense. Nothing's happening. And on a crude level, of course, that's right. But that's has to be fully understood. There's a process going on here that I know exactly how it works and is very scientific when explained properly, just like even the occult sciences are. People would laugh at as being silly stuff. But there's a whole way things manifest, and I figured that out, 30 years ago, of how magic, which people think is silly, actually really works, and how the energies are taken from different areas. And this, of course, is how regular scientists have done all their calculations, their made-up stuff, and everything else, because there's proof of virtually nothing. So we haven't seen atoms. We don't have pictures of them. We have renderings. There's so many stuff we haven't seen and don't really know what they are, etc. But, your urban legend is that these scumbuckets have figured all that out. So we have a real problem here of not having anything being proven properly. And, when it comes to diet here, and I'm heavily involved in diet here to try and figure out what's going on, because there's a vast amount of confusing information out there, even from people that are into alternative diets, what's good for you, what's not. And, I look at, when I'm tracing down and doing research, not only looking through, many, many books, 20, 30 books in specific areas, and probably 50, 60 videos on YouTube by doctors, by everybody, not just doctors, chiropractors, other people who are alternative as well as regular MDs. And the information you get is pretty varied. And it's amazing the radical differences that everybody gets. Everybody thinks that broccoli is really good for you, right? Anti-cancer, etc. But broccoli apparently stops the absorption of B12, a very important B vitamin you need to get. So there's always positives and negatives with everything. But this whole diet thing, which we've been told to eat in a particular way now for over 60 years, and everything that goes with that is complete and total lies. Now, we have to have a problem there. Do they know it's different, or were they just pushed that way? Things like breakfast. Breakfast was invented by corporations, just as the eating of bacon and eggs. This was all constructed by corporations to get you to eat it. Coffee was demonized for many, many years as being terrible for you. Where did that come from? Well, you know, coffee or caffeine is a poison. The reason why your body is sped up is because your body's fighting that poison, and it hypes you up to fight the poison. Did you know that? I doubt it. But this was done by the basic Sanka Corporation, which came out with I think it's made from barley or something, so that they could sell their product. And this gets out in the media, so now coffee is bad for you. Well, I'm not sure coffee is good for you like coffee people want to say now. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure that you should have to hype yourself up to get going in the day. That seems to me that you're not doing things right. Is there anything wrong with a cup or two a day? I doubt it. It is a good way to get a little start, but it is an artificial way, and you are taking a poison in your body. Certainly nothing great about coffee. Is it a demon? Well, no, I don't think it's a demon either. But the bottom line is we've been, everything that we know, no matter what it is basically misinformation, either done deliberately or through the buffoonish people that we continue to support, college professors, researchers. You know, when I hear a research report now, I kind of laugh. Oh, the University of Indiana just came out with this study on the use of B12. So? I should write that on toilet paper and use it appropriately. Because that's exactly what it is. First of all, we're assuming that some group knows how to research. Now, we've been doing a lot of very bad research to begin with, and their models of research are not only primitive, they're dangerous and really have no morality. To take a sick person and give them a placebo instead of a drug that's supposed to help them is pretty fucking evil in my book. So, a new cancer-causing drug. Yeah, I got cancer. I'd like to have a drug so I could live. You know, I'll take care of my kitties and my pets. Here you go, sir. Take this tablet. He got nothing, Bill. Let's watch him die. I'm a scientist. After we do this study, we'll find some sort of product that can murder lots of people and give it to psychotic military. A $1 trillion military that hasn't won a war since their inception. Great people to do that. So the whole idea is that we have to fully understand, what is this study? Who is doing it? Do they have any credibility whatsoever? And, you know, I just had a guy quoted a study that they had a study about, I think it was some sort of supplement. You know, I watch so much stuff, I don't quite recall the exact details. And writing it down doesn't help because I'm just going to have 1,000 pieces of paper with stuff on it that I still don't remember. But I get the main gist of it. What is it? So they did a study with 40 people for 2 weeks. Now, this is the new data that we're going to use about some sort of supplement. So that's really good. Did you learn that at the Moron Institute of Technology? Yeah, we're supposed to study stuff for a couple of hours. You give a guy a pill, is he dead or alive? Yeah, it works. Yeah, he's cured of nothing. So the pill worked. So the whole idea is that this is the kind of nonsense that we run into. And if you don't get away from this stuff, you're never going to get anywhere. And people continue to support the same old losers that produce absolutely nothing. Scientists, as seen on the street, should have rocks thrown at them. They have not found a single way to cure anything, including acne and dandruff. They have not produced any free energies so that we can live a better environment so people can have the necessarily primitive Hertzian tools to have a decent life. Things like refrigerators and heaters and things such as that, which is, and air conditioning, which apparently is a mystery in Europe. What is that, Dr. Tor? Yeah, cold air comes out of it, Euro. What is that? Well, I know you don't get it, but you just don't get it. So the whole idea is that we have to understand the fact of what's going on in the bigger picture here. And we have to stop supporting failures. I've talked about this. But we have to understand, and you need to get it in your head, that if you're going to give any credence to anything that you are told, or any book, and you're going to believe your college professors, like so many students that go to college, because, you know, once you get out of high school, people going to college, it costs money, it takes dedication. You either drop out or you're kind of a little slave. Oh, the professor said, he's such a genius, you know. It's not like the high school idiots who knew nothing. You know, the gym teachers who think they're geniuses that teach Latin and science. You know, people go there, they're serious, they understand that this is important to do because it requires that to get involved in society. So they basically think their professors know something. Well, we can see what they know. The world has really changed, right? Things are different. We have those cures, that free energy. And we even have diets that we're pretty sure about, right? One of the most basic things in life that everybody has to do, and it would be nice to eliminate that. There seems to be certain ways to produce body energy so you don't have to eat as much or even at all. So the claims are, I haven't been able to confirm that. But certainly eating less is good for everybody. Spend more, eat less, meaning buy better food and eat less of it because you don't need it. You're a micronutrient burner, and that's all you do is micronutrients. Well, again, I'm giving you facts here and probably confused a lot of people. So the whole idea is we slavishly follow these people that have a pretty much a unparalleled record of complete failure. They're 100% correctly failures. Nothing they do is right. It's all a con game. They feed you garbage. They entrap you with crap. You've got these computer scientists putting the dashes and the dots together, and they're producing stuff that is basically garbage. Certainly, there's no computer programs that have solved any of our problems. So like anything else, they're a tool, and if you got a bunch of bogus idiots using a tool, you're going to get bogus idiots results. And the bottom line is they're not going to conflict with their side. They're not going to go up and say, well, you know, this doesn't work. Now, the way I think, and I've kind of thought like this all my life, I'm not even entirely sure why, but I'm sure it's part of my past lives and my connections to higher sources. And of course, I've reached the highest state a human can reach, which is the state of gnosis. Everybody else is under that. People like Buddha and all these other made-up people are way under a gnosis person. Now, that doesn't mean that you're the powerful person in life in terms of what you think of a comic book reality. But if there's a problem, I will figure out how to solve it. And there's really nothing that can't be solved. So once you reach a certain level, and that means it's a way of thinking to get to gnosis, and that's the key to everything. So the bottom line is the way you think is that if you're in a goofy, screwed up, messed up society full of greed and sick, evil perverts, you reject everything they give you. What can they possibly tell us that we can buy from any of them? Because we've been lied to and everything. And, you know, as I said, I think diet really just caps everything off that I've been saying for years. The lies about technology, the lies about advanced sciences, the lies of what they're studying instead of studying the quote, non-physical, the real forces of life, and that's a term I'm using now for everything. The forces, we should be studying the forces of life, which are the non-physical energies that create the physical world. But we refuse to do that because scientists are too stuck in their 1812 books. You know, like Einstein, who rewrote papers that somebody else wrote about, so he copied from them and explained it a little differently, and then they gave him credit for something. Einstein basically, I mean, he was probably an interesting character, little humping devil he was, but he certainly didn't have any new information to give us. That information came from somebody else. And this was pushed together by a particular European establishment to push ahead this particular person from that particular place that he was at that time. So again, it's fraudulent, and it wasn't even done. And just like everything out there is taken from somebody else in general. But it's fraudulent in the way they offer things to you. But you think, oh, he invented this. He thought it up all by himself. You know, he used to get deep thinking on cable cars and playing the violin. I'm sure he got some deep thinking that way, but he didn't really come up with anything new. He changed things. His theory of relativity that he's famous for was just a rewriting of someone else's paper that people thought was a better way of explaining it, even though this guy couldn't get a job, even a high school teacher job, which I guess proves that he was probably something better because, you know, high school teachers, if you're a high school teacher, you're at the lowest level there is. So the whole idea is that all of this runs into what is going on in the bigger picture, and it's quite frightening that people just don't get it. So what you have to do is constantly be in conflict with anything that you hear, and you got to always say to yourself the opposite of what you hear, because that's true. So the point is that fats never caused heart attacks. Fats are normal, and you digest them. Now, wrong fats that accumulate in your liver because you're eating huge amounts of sugar, which is what it's come down to. And a society now that is going to be 70% of the population already has fatty livers. That doesn't come from alcohol like it used to, which is a type of sugar. It comes from eating all sorts of fructose in particular, whether that's an apple or something else. And of course, not burning it off because you're putting, or drinking lots of it, like in sodas and other things that are just piling your system in with huge amounts of fructose and other chemicals that your liver can't handle. And fructose can only be, like alcohol, only can be processed by your liver. So eventually your liver can't process it, and it stores it, and you get a fatty liver, and this causes all sorts of things in the pandemic we have now of diabetes. But of course, you don't see them making any major steps to that, do you? So the whole idea is that we have to understand all this, and this is it. And of course, you know, anything that is old, we have to chuck to a large degree. We want to hold on to the baby, but we do want to throw that bathwater, and we want to throw it very far away. So anything that you're studying, it's amazing how things are going. And of course, one of those fields, of course, is radionics, which people are still mimicking 100-year-old technology and really not having any changes in it whatsoever. Then they mimic computers by trying to take radionics and make it into some digital form of crap as well. So they're not understanding what's going on. Now, the concept is very potent and powerful, but nobody's used it properly except myself, and we have made all the breakthroughs, and these are coming out slow but sure. But it's a massive job to convert everything over to real technology, moving away from the junk that was out there. And of course, people are still stuck in that. People don't want new stuff. They want to buy the old crap because the old crap supposedly is good. Well, I don't know anything that's old that is really good. And doing anything in the old-fashioned, you know, we hear this, oh, the craftsmanship of the old days when you spent 14 days to make a chair, which we now can make better, stronger, and more attractive, probably in a few hours using machines. What's wrong with that? So, nothing at all. Hand-making stuff is a primitive, backwards way of doing things and doesn't in any way prove that it is better. We have mechanized things because machines can do repetitive tasks perfectly that the human should have not be doing at all, and then tends to do it wrong. So we have to be very aware of that. So you have to not only have to throw out all the old stuff, you can't believe anything that anybody tells you anytime. Everything is based, as I've talked about in the past, everything appears to be correct for now. So it appears the new diets that they have out there make sense, meaning what we know right now, this seems to be true. Now that could change tomorrow, next week, or 5 years from now. But there should be some staple things, particularly with diet, that we understand. Now, we've had a terrible problem, and it's really around the world, of diet with people gaining huge amounts of weight, mostly because of the junk food they're eating. And this has always been seen as, well, we know it's not that great, but it's really not that bad for you. They wouldn't sell it. Boy, that's an ignorant point of view. So we have all these people, and then they go to doctors who tell them, eat less and exercise more. Well, that's a stupid way of looking at things. Certainly, there's a sense of logic there. But first of all, fat, overweight people have trouble eating less and certainly are not up to exercising. Exercise builds muscles and actually makes you gain weight. So when you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to exercise that much. Again, that don't make sense, Dr. Duh. Well, that's the way it is. You ever seen a real sick person who's near dying? They don't leave their bed, yet they keep losing weight. Isn't that interesting? So these are the kind of things that we run into that we have to be very cognizant of. So people are very heavy. And, of course, you should look at my videos on the states of health because that's important as well. What state of health are you in? So, and most people are in a state of health that they have self-created, and it means you can uncreate that, and people do this all the time. So, but the whole idea is that we've been told all these fantasies about things like salt is no good. Well, salt is very good for you, and you should be adding salt as long as you're not eating foods that are loaded with crap salt, which is probably full of toxins and everything else, like salted potato chips, salted everything. So, all of this stuff, you're getting all this salt from. But salt, as a technicality, is handled by your kidneys and kicked out. So your body is self-regulating with salt, as it is with many things. Brain chemicals. People talk about alkalinity. You cannot alkaline your body. Your body is naturally regulating that. So you can, the more alkaline you eat, the more toxic things are. And you can help your body. But there's a lot of big confusions, and one of the things out there is the fact that how great fasting is for you. Long-term fasting. People have cured themselves by just going on. There's two types of fast. Dry fast, where you don't drink anything. Very rare, but can be a potent system. Sounds scary to me. And also, of course, like most people do, you fast and you still drink liquids. But if you're drinking fructose, meaning fruit juices, you're nuts. Because we all now know the demon that fructose is, regardless of where it comes from. You think you're eating... and there are old diets out there that tell you to drink things like apple juice, which is super, super high in fructose and sugar, coming off of fast and everything else. And they're telling you that because there's malic acid in there. But you should be taking malic acid separately, not putting fructose in a relatively poor system. And that goes for all of these things that people are told to do. But see, this is old thinking when there wasn't a lot of fructose. And this is part of the problems that become with other things. A very popular of recently, the Parcel system, is loaded with old, outdated information that just plain don't work. There's some good core information there, especially if you're a person who knows nothing about health, kind of puts you on that. There's also a lot of very bad nutritional information from a person who claimed they spent 20 years in school learning nutrition. Yeah, it was all old, stupid nutrition that has no value. And there are many things when it comes to diets that we have to be very careful. And we're really talking about, and we'll get into that in other lectures because it could go on forever getting into diet information. What we're talking about here is the kind of disinformation. Now, the bottom line is that good fats are good for you. High protein is bad for you. An animal product diet is basically the best thing for everybody. This seems to work the best for everybody. This means cheese, meats, butters, all the things. Oh, butter's bad for you. Why? It's a natural good fat. Margarine's bad for you. It's a fake fat. Corn oil, horrible for you. Olive oil, wonderful for you. So these olive oil is all fat. When you have an oil, what is oil? Oil means one thing, fat. And it's very good for you, and people that consume lots of olive oil live very long. Oh, that's clogging their arteries. They're all going to drop dead. Well, the people that live the longest consume, so it appears, huge amounts of olive oil. And you're talking as much as a quart a week. Wow. But your body loves it. And your body loves fat. It doesn't like potato chip fat. It doesn't like the fat, the artificial fats, the margarine. This is what gets you. And of course, fructose is very bad for your liver in general. And we're at such a state, I should say the Western people, that you really can't even eat fruit anymore because it's bad for you unless you look at your own diet. And you got to look at your own bio diet, what you're doing, what your health is. But in general, you want to stay away from anything that's fructose, and that means fruit. And there's not all that much ingredients in terms of special helpful nutrients in fruit anyway. That's another thing that's a little bit overdone. But, you know, you certainly could eat a certain amount of that if you're not eating a whole bunch of other junk. But you have to be careful. If you're one of those people that has bad health, well, you're going to have to get off of fructose, and that includes getting off of fruit, so it appears, being told by the pundits out there. And there's a lot to cover in this area. But the bottom line is the whole point of this particular lecture is to say how we've been lied on everything. Not only been lied about health and energy and all the other things, we've been lied to the core of things. The core of things is actually what you're eating. And you've been conditioned now, as I have all my life, of eating 3 meals a day. Eating crap cereals in the morning, donuts, coffee, all the stuff that is really bad for you. And that, of course, you need that. And don't touch eggs because they're so high in cholesterol, they're going to kill you in a minute. And this has been going on of demonizing eggs, really even right up to now. There's still people that think eggs are horrible for you. Now eggs are one of the best foods you can eat and part of the best diet you should be on, which is the carnivore diet, which seems to give amazing results. And I'll talk about these things in other lectures, as I've mentioned. But you've been lied to with everything. And who has lied to you? All the people you trust. Your rotten doctor who overcharges you and lives in a mansion while they won't even take the basic medical care of you. You've been lied to by all those stuck-up scientists who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in schools preaching the same old crap that never really worked. But, of course, they're following the system and filling their own pockets. You've been lied by everybody doing everything. And when we look at really people that are out there that are producing, who have lots of money and everything else, what are they producing? Well, we look at the people out there. I watched Bill Gates talk about his great new scientific breakthroughs. I'm not sure why he's involved in that, but it was one of them had to. They were all just, you know, typical Microsoft low-class, low-thinking. I mean, after all, this guy's a high school graduate, and his daddy was a lawyer, and he's a Roman Catholic, I believe, and a German. Good God. Boy, that adds up into the biggest bunch of poo you've ever seen. So he's talking about, well, I can make nuclear power safe by cooling them with salt water. Oh, great breakthrough. Is that when you were Harvard boys? Did the Moron Institute of Technology figure that out? Because salt water heats up slower and dissipates heat. Ooh, boy, high tech there, Mr. Gates. And then, of course, everybody who wants to praise the biggest boob on this planet. And I guess, you know, this planet deserves it. I just get a kick out of seeing anything that Elon Musk does. And he brought us that new technology, electric cars, invented in 1851. Yeah, I mean, it's got a computer in it. Woo! Slap my face. It's a miracle. Or solar panels that look like roof tiles, which really don't, which is a total fraud. But there's nothing new about solar power. God knows when that goes back. Get back to the ancient Greeks who want to talk about solar power. So these are the genius things that he comes up with. Electric cars, and what else? Rockets that shoot in the sky. You know, we had rockets that actually went to the moon at one time. Are you kiddies out there? I remember 1969 watching the moon thing. And we did go to the moon, and that technology was... Now we can't even figure out how to get a skyrocket up on 4th of July. So these are all the things that everybody is really confused about. But it's all lies, it's all nonsense, and you have to reject it. If you want to get any place in life, you have to reject everything. You have to reject the silly ways of dressing, getting tattoos, having metal put in your face, getting your haircut shaped like a jar head. People used to tease the Marines for having jar heads. Now all of a sudden this is popular, and you do it because Billy Bob does it, and he plays music. Or some other stooge. It's popular and you want to do it? Is that right? You want to be connected with this popular society because we have a long list of things that they've achieved and solved problems with. So we want to be part of that winning group, right? And I'd like to know those accomplishments. So you should segregate. You do what the Jews did by wearing funny hats and having curls coming outside of their head. Now, you should say, I'm different than you. I don't support you. Now, we all know that tattoos are now, oh, yeah, it's popular now, Dr. Duh. Well, it doesn't mean you have to do it. So, and It's a way of showing that I'm part of your society, and you should avoid that. You should avoid those funny haircuts. And, of course, my latest pet peeve, people who keep wearing running shoes with every outfit, started by David the Jerk Letterman and is carried on to today that people want. There is lots of attractive, more, what would we call them, dress shoes that are super comfortable. That wasn't in the past. You had to get really special shoes to get the really comfortable ones. But the whole idea is that this are the things that say, I'm with this tribe. Do you want to be with this tribe? Do you want to think like they do? And you want to do all their persecution, their crap science, their deadly medical, their horrible belief in comic book realities? You really want to be part of that? Well, if you do, then join that club and be with them. Don't think you're going to be an alternative person if you're going to think in that way. So you make your statements by doing life practices. And if you expect to be empowered, you expect to understand the kind of technology I put out there and be successful with it, well, you're going to have to reject the popular nonsense, because after all, if you get yourself a jarhead haircut, everybody's going to love you, right? You're going to get lots of dates, you had plenty of problems, no problems, and you're going to be hired by the best people. Is that right? No, you're just telling everybody you're a clone, and it gets you nowhere except society chuckles at you that they got you again. You're conforming to them for what reason? And if you conform to them in your haircuts, your tattoos, and wearing stupid shoes, you're going to conform to their stupid science, their stupid wars, and their stupid belief systems. You need to reject all of that if you're going to go on to the next level. And remember, nothing's going to change here. You have to go on to the next level, you have to escape, and you have to ascend into a real existence instead of the existence that we live here in planet hell Earth. And to do that requires the way you think has to be different. Not just the way you dress. You have to think differently. If you expect certain technologies to work for you, you have to understand them. You have to know how they work. You should be able to talk to anybody of what subtle energy physics are. Or I should say force energy physics. There's nothing subtle about any of this stuff. To take energies and manipulate them into physical form is quite a force. So the whole idea is that you should know that, and you should be able, and anybody who has the nerve to confront you that with their primitive crap science that is destroying this earth should be spit upon by you and your intelligence to explain to them what the facts are, if you want to bother. So I prefer to just turn them into fertilizer, but that's another story. So the whole idea is we have to fully understand that. We have to understand how everything we've ever been told is a complete and total lie and will continue to be to the end of time. But there will be those few that step out, that know how to think and will challenge these realities, maybe indirectly, but their lives will show that they have reached high levels of empowerment and be able to achieve higher goals away from the trash that's taught you. The problem is that, of course, you want to be part of the gang. You want to wear your t-shirts and your jeans and say, like the hippies did. Yeah, there was the hippie uniform, the t-shirts, the jeans, the tie-dye, and even today. Yeah, and you all look the same, and you're all in the same little club because you're non-conformists, right? You're just conforming to another group of idiots. And this is what we do with everything. So, take that in mind. Remember, think of anything. The fact of how bad we've been told the lies about diet, that fat is bad for you, and and to eat lots of basically sugar, which is carbohydrates that turn almost directly into sugar, pastas, breads, oh, whole wheat bread is bad. No, whole wheat bread has a sugar index that is through the roof, and nobody needs sugar unless you're working in some rice paddy field somewhere 12 hours a day or running all the time. So the whole idea is that a modern man who is more sedimental, meaning sedimentary, I should say, more sedimentary, sitting in front of computers or assembling stuff, doesn't need any kind of carbohydrates added into all the crap they're eating. So keep that in mind. Hopefully this is clear. This is the path. You want to be empowered. You want to use technologies. You want to have manifesting high levels where you're going to have to reject what everybody's told you. And that includes the old gunk from the Hindus, the yoga, the positive thinking. All this stuff has to be trashed, and only a bit that you pull back out of that trash and use, because it's all bad. It's all improperly done. It's never done anything for anybody in the bigger picture. All those goofballs